Husky Game Prep is brought to you by Gate City Bank, proud supporter of your Huskies. Stop by and ask us about our low interest rates to finally buy that new snowmobile or ice house you've been waiting for. Contact any of our 43 locations across North Dakota and central Minnesota, and of course around the St. Cloud area. Gate City Bank, for a better way of life. Member FDIC, equal housing lender. Hey Huskies fans, welcome back into another episode of Huskies Game Prep, brought to you by Gate City Bank. Sam Getzinger here with you, and joining us once again, our friend from therinklive.com, Mick Hatton. Mick, how you doing after this fun weekend of hockey?
Doing well. How are you doing, Sam?
You know, I'm doing pretty well. Much better that St. Cloud State was able to pick up the big 4-0 win on Senior Day, Saturday matinee against Colorado College. Give us some of your thoughts from that game. St. Cloud State coming away with a shutout against the Tigers.
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of an interesting thing because, going into that game, Colorado College had come off a big win up at UMD on Thursday. They came from behind, I believe, and won that game 2-1. And UMD outshot them badly. I mean, they got CC got great goaltending in that game, and but at the same time, UMD was a desperate team in playing at home, and CC was able to pull out that win. So, I mean, I looked at it as a little bit of it'll be interesting to see how both teams react to this, because St. Cloud State was obviously, if they were keeping their Penrose Cup championship hopes alive, they absolutely had to have that game against Colorado College. Came out, had a good first period, got themselves a lead, which was much needed. They ran into a little bit of penalty trouble. We can discuss whether or not some of the calls are warranted or not. It doesn't matter. I mean, they had to kill 5 penalties, but to their credit, they killed all 5. And to be honest with you, I mean, CC didn't get very many good looks on any of their power plays. Now, they're not a great power play team to begin with, but at the same time, St. Cloud State took care of business there.
Yeah, most definitely. And, of course, David Rennick, after his performance against Colorado College, gets the NCHC Goaltender of the Week. That's much deserved, especially on Senior Day. And quite the fun Senior Day, we should add, with all the extracurricular activities there at the end, the hard lap and everything, which was really cool to see out of the players. But you touched on it a little bit, Mick. North Dakota comes away with the regular season Penrose Cup after they knocked off Nebraska Omaha over at the Ralph. And typically in a normal season, St. Cloud State fans, they're able to see North Dakota a couple of times, but of course this year haven't been able to since the pod. So for someone who hasn't really kept tabs on North Dakota, although I know a lot of Husky faithful probably still do, what does North Dakota do so well?
Everything. There are a lot of holes on that team. I mean, when they are healthy, up and down that lineup, they are. I don't think there's any question. I mean, they're the deepest team in the NCHC, and I'd put their depth up there with anybody in the country. They can score in a variety of different ways. They're really dangerous on the power play. They've had really good goaltending. Adam Shield got a little bit dinged up. I think it was this past weekend, but was able to come back and in actually 2 weekends ago, and then he was able to come back this past weekend and played really well over the weekend for them. They've got defensemen who can move the puck and are threats offensively, as well as being good defensemen. Some really, Shane Pinto might be the MVP of the league. I don't think there's a whole lot of question, actually. I mean, you notice him every single shift he's on the ice. So they have a lot of high-end players. It's when you think of your typical really strong North Dakota teams, this is what they look like. I mean, they can play physical. They can out skill you when they want to. They're going to go hard to the net. They play hard all the time, and they've gotten good goaltending. So I mean, they're not ranked where they're ranked without justification. They're not the top team in the country. They're number 2. I mean, of what I've seen throughout the country, I really like North Dakota from that standpoint, from a talent standpoint, and what they're doing as a team.
Most definitely. They got another series coming up against Nebraska Omaha. That'll be over in Omaha here coming up pretty soon before all the teams head over to the route for the NCHC playoffs. Let's touch on the final two regular season games for St. Cloud State. They have a home and home. The schedule changed a little bit. So there's a one game this weekend, and then there's another game next weekend. And the last game of the year will be at the Herb Brooks National Hockey Center. So when you look at a schedule like this, and it kind of mimics the single game elimination pretty much. So 3 consecutive games for St. Cloud State that are going to be just one game a weekend. Does that help a little bit going into the playoffs, getting used to that single game format?
Yeah, actually, I think it does. I mean, and I think this goofy schedule that they've had kind of throughout the season, might be, might be a good thing. Just from that standpoint of you've had weeks. Well, I mean, if you go all the way back to the pod, you're not preparing for just one team in a week. There, you're likely preparing for 3 teams in short order.
Mm-hmm.
So it forces you to adapt quickly. It forces you to kind of take into, if you're a high routine person, let's say, and some hockey players are really into their routines. This has not been a good season for high routine people because the game times are all over the place. Some weeks they're playing there have been Thursday games, there have been Saturday games, some Sunday games. Sometimes they play a Thursday, a Saturday. All that stuff is what you do see in the NCAA tournament. So I can't help but think it's got to help them a little bit as they're getting ready for that. Just because they've had so many different situations kind of thrown at them, and they're sitting here in second place in the conference going into the last 2 games of the regular season. I'd say that they've been very adaptable this season, and that's something that they can hang their hat on.
Definitely right. And let's focus on this game coming up this weekend. The Huskies go to AMSOIL Arena in Duluth. They've had some success there earlier this year. What do the Huskies need to do to come away with the win in the first game of this home and home split weekend series?
Well, we're not on an ocean or anything, but I'd say prepare for the typhoon out of the gate out of UMD.
Mm-hmm.
They are going to be extremely desperate, coming into this game. They're 4 points behind St. Cloud State, so I mean, if they want to finish, take second place, I mean, they need to sweep these next 2 games against St. Cloud State. They don't. Very prideful team. St. Cloud State beat them twice up there before. They've lost 3 games in a row going into this weekend. I can't imagine they're not going to come out just on fire, to start that game. And can St. Cloud State kind of weather that and kind of counterpunch them in that game? It was interesting as I look back at the 4 games that these teams have played already. The first 2 games at the Brooks Center were highly decided by special teams play. In the 2 games that were up at AMSOIL Arena, neither team had a power play goal.
Mm-hmm.
It'll be interesting to see if that maybe changes here on Saturday. That's been a trouble area for UMD here of late. They're in those 3 losses. They're 0 for 10 on the power play. St. Cloud State, as we know, has been really strong on the penalty kill all season long. Again, 5 for 5 against Colorado College. Can they keep that going? Those are going to be kind of the big things, to me with them. And can they, can they get, we like we were mentioning, Brodzinski has gotten going. Fitzgerald, I thought had a good game against CC, and actually has had a good couple of weeks here out of him. Can they get that, Okabe, Granola, Miettinen line? I mean, I'm not saying they haven't had chances, but are they going to be able to capitalize a little bit more? And it's always different, obviously, when you're playing on the NHL-sized rink. It's going to be more physical up there. And like I said, UMD is going to be ticked off. So I would expect a real physical, hard-nosed series. And can St. Cloud State kind of weather that and find a way to win?
Yeah, that's going to be a lot of fun to watch coming up this weekend. Huskies travel to Minnesota Duluth, and then the Huskies and Duluth are back at the Herberts National Hockey Center on March 6th to wrap up the regular season in NCHC play. Mick, thank you so much for joining us here on Huskies Game Prep. Always a pleasure to have you, and be sure to check out therinklive.com for all your college hockey news, and we'll break down this week's game next week. How about that, Mick?
That sounds great. Thanks so much for having me on, Sam.
Not a problem at all. Not a problem at all. Be sure to stick around here in Huskies Game Prep. Coming up next, Rachel Herzog and Emma Paluzny. They talk about the SCSU women's hockey program that's coming up next. Huskies fans, reminder that Huskies Game Prep is brought to you by Gate City Bank, proud supporter of SCSU Athletics. Gate City Bank, for a better way of life. Member FDIC, equal housing lender.
Interesting thing because, going into that game, Colorado College had come off a big win up at UMD on Thursday. They came from behind, I believe, and won that game 2-1. And UMD outshot them badly. I mean, they got CC got great goaltending in that game, and but at the same time, UMD was a desperate team in playing at home, and CC was able to pull out that win. So I mean, I looked at it as a little bit of a, well, it'll be interesting to see how both teams react to this, because St. Cloud State was obviously, if they were keeping their Penrose Cup championship hopes alive, they absolutely had to have that game against Colorado College. Came out, had a good first period, got themselves a lead, which was much needed. They ran into a little bit of penalty trouble. We can discuss whether or not some of the calls are warranted or not. It doesn't matter. I mean, they had to kill 5 penalties, but to their credit, they killed all 5. And to be honest with you, I mean, CC didn't get very many good looks on any of their power plays. Now, they're not a great power play team to begin with, but at the same time, St. Cloud State took care of business there. And David Rennick didn't have to have 40 saves or whatever, but he had to come up clutch, several times in that game, and did each time. And Easton Brodzinski, got 2 goals. Kevin Fitzgerald with a goal. So, I mean, the seniors, a lot of times on senior night, those guys it's a really kind of an emotional thing. Now, maybe with not having, as many fans in the stands, maybe that, wasn't come into play, I guess, maybe as much as it normally would. But the seniors really stepped up in that game and played huge roles in getting them a win. And, unfortunately, North Dakota won both their games. So, I mean, the Penrose Cup is out of their reach, but they've set themselves up great to finish second here in the conference. It really kind of sets up these next 2 games against UMD.
Yeah, and
Easton Brodzinski has gotten back going on the score sheet. 5 goals and an assist in the last 6 games. That's much more what you expect out of Easton. And they've moved him around a little bit.